Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Big Italy 42, joined here by Christopher Ruckus at Space Jam 23 DFS. And got a little congratulations to send your way last night on your call with the contrarian Troy Tulowitzki play on DraftKings, especially his cheap $4,100 price tag against the GOAT, Clayton Kershaw. And you got yourself a homer. You got yourself the contrarian play. So, play of the day. Props to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And let's just talk one second here. Whenever you say Troy Tulowitzki is contrarian, just play the man. He should never be a contrarian pick. And Kershaw's got smashed by two studs already this year previously. So yeah, thank you, sir, for the call out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kershaw had no trouble with the rest of the lineup, though, with his 12 Ks. So he did quite fine, and I'm sure he didn't mind the one home run to Tulowitzki. So, all right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and kick things off here, starting at starting pitcher for tonight's slate, starting at 7:05. And your obvious top option on tonight's slate, shouldn't need to tell you this one. It's going to be Felix Hernandez going up against Texas at home, $11,200. We know how great Felix Hernandez is. He's been the model of consistency for the last few years across Major League Baseball, so he's got to be the top option tonight, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had a rough outing at Oakland last one out, but his first out opening day against the Angels. What a gem. So Texas Rangers, not so much either of those teams. So love Felix as my number one. Right behind him, Mr. Tanaka. It is his bobblehead night from a New Yorker. So about $1,000 less. You can get some good value by just dropping down a little.
Yeah, and get yourself a little bit of narrative there as well.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of options that I think you like on tonight's slate as far as starting pitchers go. I mean, Greinke, not a great matchup against Colorado, but he's been pitching great so far. Jacob deGrom against Miami lineup that's been up and down. Jake Odorizzi, a guy that I know you and I both like, but he struggled with fly balls last year. Keeping the ball on the ground great this year. In fact, at the Rogers Center last time out, of his 22 outs, 13 were ground ball outs. So just 3 strikeouts, which isn't as much as you would like from Odorizzi. But, I mean, he's pitched great in 2 pretty tough matchups so far. So now he gets the Yankees at home in Tropicana, and I like him a lot as a tournament play tonight.
Yeah, he's actually probably one of my favorite plays tonight. I mean, we did watch Mr. A-Rod go yard last night to shut up all New York critics. But, Odorizzi, I also like that he pitches deep into games. I mean, yeah, 6 2/3 inning against Baltimore, 8 against Toronto. He's coming home, playing against the Yankees. I love Odorizzi tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of trolling the Yankees fans, I didn't actually read the article, but I saw a little headline that said Derek Jeter admits he doesn't miss baseball. So there you have it. There was some well-documented disdain from my end about Derek Jeter's final days. So there's that for you Yankees fans. He doesn't miss you. Sorry. I couldn't resist. Anyway, let's move on. And there's a guy that it's a little bit cheaper. He's got a great ground ball rate from last year. Dallas Keuchel, and a tough matchup today against the Angels, but he is at home in Houston. I think he makes for a fine tournament play at 7,100, but I think there's a guy who you're looking at that's a little bit cheaper that you like in GPPs as well.
Yeah, no, so I definitely like him, but one of my favorite plays tonight, GPPs, not Chris Rokas, but Chris Heston is my favorite GPP play of the night, 5,400. You can get some big bats and pair him with Felix Hernandez. You get upside, you get consistency. You have I love that as my GPP two pitchers of the night.
Yeah, and Heston, $5,400, like you mentioned, he's pitched great so far, and he's pitching at home tonight, so I don't mind that play at all. But, tonight it's going to be cash game's going to be the top options, really. And you don't mind maybe slotting Heston in there with one of the top arms and getting yourself some bats there in a cash game. Probably not a bad way to go either.
No.
All right, moving on here to catcher, where there's a couple options we like here. And this is not just based on the double dong last night, but Stephen Vogt once again in play against a righty. You're obviously not expecting 2 home runs again, but that's the upside that he possesses. Also should have a solid floor in the middle of that lineup. And Yordan Ventura actually been fairly solid against lefties. A 288 WOBA allowed last year was pretty impressive. But, this Oakland lineup can still put up some numbers. So I'm a fan of Stephen Vogt tonight.
Yeah, you and I had this talk last night about Stephen Vogt. We both were on him. And then we decided to come off of him for some unknown reason to us. And so we'll play him tonight. And he may get 3 strikeouts or he'll triple dong. So Disclaimer: we do like him. Liked him last night. The guy's got power and pop. A fantastic price
Yeah.
on DraftKings. You know, when you're looking at the similar price points to him, you gotta like him. He's got real power.
Yeah, 3.6K for him, a great price. Another guy at 3.6K, Brian McCann, and this is obviously if you're not playing Jake Odorizzi, but he's got a little bit of power upside there. We mentioned the struggles with fly ball, so if Odorizzi reverts back to old Odorizzi, you're going to expect some balls to fly a long way here in Tropicana. So like him, Travis d'Arnaud, also 3,600. If you notice the trend here, you're looking for a catcher, just go ahead and take a look at the guys at 3.6K, and also Jonathan Lucroy at 3.9. Anybody else you like?
No, I mean Lucroy's a steal at 3.9. He's starting the season off slow. His BABIP is much lower than his career average, so I like Lucroy tonight.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and move on here to first base, where your top option, as he has been most days this season, absolutely on fire. Not the best player for the Dodgers, and probably never will be with Clayton Kershaw out there, but Adrian Gonzalez just absolutely destroying the ball. 3 hits last night, 2 hits the day before, 2 hits the day before, batting .550 still on the season. 5,400 is a steep price tag, but you don't really mind targeting him tonight in this solid matchup. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to pay up, you're going to pay for Gonzalez.
Yeah, no, and here's our for all you GPPers out there. Adrian Gonzalez is 5,400. Mike Trout is 5,200. Who's a better baseball player? Ring, ring, ring. Answer: Mike Trout. But that makes Adrian Gonzalez is probably the hottest player in baseball right now, and also is going to be contrarian because he's more expensive than anybody else. I love fading Trout, who will be zillion percent owned for Adrian Gonzalez and GPPs tonight.
Yeah, and you got a matchup here with Jordan Lyles, so not exactly much of a matchup there on that end. Elsewhere at first base, you've got Lucas Duda still swinging a hot bat. Not great last night, but now gets the matchup against Matt Latos, who through 2 starts, has a nice ground ball rate of just under 12%. So he is getting absolutely mashed, and I'm not making up that number. Actually under 12% through 2 starts. Obviously, the first one pretty short, but Matt Latos is getting crushed. I want a piece of him. I already talked about d'Arnaud. Duda I want as well. d'Arnaud was out of the lineup last night, so he should be well rested. Big fan there. If you're going a little bit cheaper, a guy who's also off to a nice start, Kendrys Morales. He's at $4,100. And I think a lot of people will be scared off by that price tag, but Jesse Hahn didn't pitch particularly well last time, and that KC lineup's been putting up some numbers.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that call. And if you're looking for just a little bit cheaper, someone who's having a quiet but a solid year, and I think it's based on the opportunity around him, is Mr. Ike Davis. I mean, yeah, only 1 home run, 6 ribbies, but the guy, he gets on base every game, has a chance to get a run, RBIs. That offense is potent. You know, they get on base, they hit each other around. So I like Ike Davis as a high floor punt first baseman.
Yeah, I like that call as well. I mean, he's a nice platoon guy against righties. Always cheap because he does sit every once in a while against lefties. So, I mean, that keeps his price deflated, and we got to take advantage of that where we can. Moving on to second base, Jose Altuve versus a lefty. Check. Next, Robinson Cano against a bad righty. Check. Next. Then as we move further on down the list here, one of my favorite cheap plays, obviously just a cash game play, not a lot of upside, but great lineup position, usually bats second. Joe Panic, he's got himself a great price tag tonight, and you can play him at second base or shortstop at just $3,100. So he's got a nice price there. And also looking at Louis Valbuena, if you want a guy with a little bit of upside here. He's not a bad matchup against C.J. Wilson, who really struggled last season. $3,400, and he's not off to a great start, but he does have a couple home runs, so he's got a little bit of pop there for cheap in the middle infield.
Yeah, no, Louis Valbuena, he does have some pop. He's not off to the hottest start, but I think it's just because he's playing at Houston, where the trend is cool to like strike out and pop out one in every 12 at bat, every 12 at bats, and then 13th at bat you actually hit a home run, and everyone's like, "You've got great power, man. Welcome to Houston." So he's hit or miss. He's a great GPP play because his upside is immense. And I like him tonight. Not too scared of the matchup, and like the Astros in general.
Yeah, another guy I want to mention here, and this is going to be a GPP target. He's really struggling so far this season, but facing off against an average righty, going to be hitting from the left side of the plate, which is his stronger side. Neil Walker at $4,200. That price tag, his recent production is probably going to keep some people off him. I think he's a nice cheap play and some GPPs for you there. All right, moving on to shortstop, where my cash game play is probably going to start with Jimmy Rollins at $4,100. Big bats behind him. And great matchup against Jordan Lyles. I like that a lot. You've got Jed Lowry at a nice price. He's at $3,700. Want to pick on C.J. Wilson a little bit as well. A guy that you had mentioned there is Alcides Escobar, but he did leave last night's game with a knee sprain. So he's listed day-to-day. Assume that he's going to go. But all that really tells you right there is that if he is in the lineup, a lot of people will be scared off him. He's going to have even more of low ownership, especially in your KC stacks there. So definitely some big upside with run production, stolen bases with him today.
Yeah, no, completely. Love Alcides there. A pretty cool option that I might utilize in GPPs tonight is running Dodger stacks with Escobar instead of Jimmy Rollins. Same price. All your Dodger stacks are going to have Rollins. So if Alcides outscores Rollins, it basically puts you ahead of all the Dodger stacks, which is one of my favorite stacks tonight.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all, and I'm completely with you. I like that matchup a lot. I think they put up a big number tonight. Anybody else you're looking at shortstop? It's a pretty thin position tonight.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I really, really, really want to say Tulo, but I can't. The only other option I have is GPP, and he is every single night is D Gordon. I mean, he's up against DeGrom. He's had 2 bad games. His ownership will be low. He can spring a 20 and 30-point game any single night. So if you're looking to, get creative, 4,300 to shift D Gordon in, I don't mind. He also is second base eligible.
Yeah, I like that. And, you can't get too greedy with Tulowitzki. You can't expect a homer off of the ace every night. But you never know. I mean, he is still one of the best hitters in the game. So no one would be shocked if he did it again tonight either. Moving on to the outfield, where I think you've heard of Mike Trout. I think you heard Chris talk about him earlier on the podcast. So if you can get Mike Trout, you're going to get yourself some Mike Trout tonight. He's more of a cash game play, like you mentioned. Going to be really high owned in GPPs. That's not to say you shouldn't play him in GPPs, but just know that he's going to be highly owned. So if you can avoid a guy like Mike Trout tonight, maybe has an average, a subpar type of game, you're going to get yourself a pretty nice advantage over the GPP field. So like I said, still a good play, but just know that everyone else is playing him tonight also off that double dong game last night. Other options here in the outfield, Michael Kadyr's been swinging a nice hot bat recently. He's at just $3,900, first base eligible as well. Kevin Kiermaier, always talk about him, but he was back in the leadoff spot last night. Disappointed at 0 for 4, but $3,800, his price dropped as a result of that. It's a tough matchup for him against Tanaka, but we've seen Tanaka, when he's off, he's off. So, and Kiermaier's the guy who can get on, score some runs. You don't necessarily need any power out of him to pay off. David Peralta is a nice guy also here in the outfield that is at $3,700 if you're not playing Chris Heston. And who else are you looking at here in the outfield?
So one player I'm looking at, and I haven't really played him this year, but he's been under my radar, is Lorenzo Cain. Yep. When we talk about a hot bat right now, I mean, 11 RBIs, batting .462, DK points 16, 37, 13, 16, 26. I mean, that has a lot to do with the Royals put the ball in play, and they have base runners. So I do like Lorenzo Cain tonight. Against Jesse Hahn, 4,700. I think a lot of people will be scared off that price when Mr. Stanton and Mr. Cruz are both cheaper than him. He makes for a phenomenal GPP play tonight.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, the only player on tonight's slate averaging more fantasy points per game on DraftKings is Adrian Gonzalez at any position. I mean, obviously pitchers, but I'm talking hitters here. So that's how good Lorenzo Cain has been this year. So I love that call, and did just realize that I skipped over third base. It's really early in the morning here, so let's go back to third base here and discuss. And your top options here, Kyle Seager at home against Variety, as he always is. Aramis Ramirez, who we all wanted to play yesterday in a great matchup against a weak lefty. He's at just $3,500 tonight. Tremendous price for him. So I'm a big fan there as well. Seager's price jumped up $700 after his bad performance last night somehow. Probably because he's facing a bad righty tonight. So DraftKings once again locking that down. And a guy that you and I are a big fan of, Jake Lamb. Been swinging a nice hot bat this year. $3,800 today against Heston. But, I mean, he hasn't played every day. But, I mean, the guy's batting .440, 1.30 OPS. I mean, the guy's just crushing the ball right now. And he's shown some patience. I mean, he's walked 3 times the last game, too. So giving you good at-bats every time. He makes for not even a bad cash game play either and a great tournament play.
No, and I mean, when we look at it, what are we, about 11, 12 games in so far?
Yeah, depends on the team, but yeah, right about.
3 strikeouts.
Yep.
I mean, you're right. He gives you good at bats. He puts the ball in play. I like him, and I think he's going to be one of these players that we can play early on at a discount. But he's going to be up in that 4K range before we know it. And at third base, I usually don't really like third baseman unless I can play Miggy at third, maybe Longo in a good matchup. I love Jake Lamb.
Yeah, there's usually a lot of chalk plays at third base, and it seems like there will be once again tonight. So Jake Lamb makes for a real nice swerve off of those top options. All right,
Yeah,
with
and
that,
then we've got one more narrative street of the day.
What do you got?
You'll have to look really deep to find him on your DraftKings pricing. I don't think he's on FanDuel yet, but if you see Justin Big Italy 42 in your DraftKings lineup, it is his birthday. Narrative street. He might have 4 pieces of cake, 6 scoops of ice cream, and 7 home runs. So shout out to Justin. Happy birthday, man! Thanks for doing the podcast this morning, and good luck tonight.
Thank you. And you forgot the 6 beers as well, but that'll be after the game, though. I'll save the drinking for after the game. But thank you for hanging out with us today. This was the DraftKings Daily Trot. We got a lot of great content at dailyfantasycafe.com. Check that out, and we'll see you guys next time.